and welcome to this edition of Hidden History Stories from the Secret City. I'm Keith McDaniel, along with my co-host, Ray Smith. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning, Keith. How are you today?
I'm good. And it looks like, both of us need to put our glasses on because everything behind us is a little blurry. Now, you have a nice looking office. I don't know why you blurred yours. Mine is just a mess, and that's the reason that I blurred mine. So anyway, why don't you introduce our guest this morning?
You know how it is, Keith. When you get this new upgraded, updated Zoom, you got to try out all the new things on it. So yes. I'm trying the blurred background today. Well, listen, we're really glad to have Alan Lowe with us. I've told several people. I don't think I've ever told Alan, so we'll do it now. But I think he's the best thing that we've done lately for the American Museum of Science and Energy. When we hired him, we brought a really good resource to the community. And he's done some amazing things since he's been here. And we're really proud of what he's done, and maybe even more proud of what he plans for the future. So, Alan, we're glad to have you with us today.
Well, thank you so much, Keith and Ray. Thank you, Ray, for those very kind words. I'm really honored to head up AMSI and the K-25 History Center. It's been a unique 2 years, to say the least, but I'm really honored to be here and doing what I'm doing.
2 years. It's amazing how fast time flies. I well remember when we started talking about, how we're gonna make changes, what we're gonna do, how the foundation's going to fit in. And right. If you look at our situation now, it's really good and really positive compared to what we were thinking 2 years ago. We've come a long way in 2 years.
We have, and part of that, of course, is moving to that new model of operations with the private AMSI Foundation running both museums now under that cooperative agreement with the Department of Energy. And that, as you know, Ray, has been a long time in the making, but that finally happened on March 1 of this year. So that does give us more local control, a lot of flexibility that we didn't have before, essentially, before we were a DOE contractor. So DOE is still extraordinarily supportive, but this puts us in a new model of operations that is very beneficial to both museums moving forward.
It does, and let's take just a minute and talk about that foundation just for a minute, especially talk about the expansion that we're making that brings some nationally known people involved as an advisory committee. I think yes. The folks would be interested to know that.
Exactly. So the board of directors, of which you are a member, a very valued member, and we appreciate your service, is chaired by Jim Campbell. I think when I got here, yeah. We had 9 members on that board. It's now at 18 members. So we've expanded it significantly. We put together a whole new committee structure and all that. So this board is really hitting on all cylinders. I'm really excited about the potential of what we can do with it. In addition to that, as Ray referenced, we put together what we call the National Advisory Committee for AMSI, which is a group of local and national folks that we can turn to for advice and help on a whole range of things. So everything from scientists to science writers to museum directors, business leaders. So when we have a question about an exhibit or a potential sponsor, anything like that, we can reach out to this group of friends around the nation. And part of that is the board's direction to say, we are definitely proud to be part of this community. We always want to be a resource for Oak Ridge and East Tennessee, but how do we also have a national impact? Part of that is online, and part of that also is finding these national partners to work with on the advisory committee.
And an example of the kind of individuals we're talking about there, Richard Rhodes is the latest addition to the National Advisory Committee, and I'm really glad that he's joined us. And there are several others of that stature that we've brought on board as well. So yeah, I'm proud to be a part of the foundation, and it has taken us a while to get here, but I believe we're in the best position that we've ever been, and are capable now of doing things for the museum that we've not been able to in the past. So I'm really looking forward to that. Speaking of the museum, we're open again, right?
Thank goodness, yes, we are open. Both museums are open to the public. Very excited about that. If you've been vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. So it's great to finally see people in the galleries again. You know, we stayed really busy during the public shutdown, doing a lot of stuff online, preparing the exhibits for reopening, doing some new things. But we're all about education and engaging with our public. So finally, to walk out into the galleries and see people there, it's been terrific.
Well, I have not been to the K-25 museum because I didn't get there before it was
Yeah.
only open for about a month.
That's right.
Wasn't it?
As soon as we open,
Yeah,
right.
it actually opened the last week in February of 2020, and I believe Alan closed the second week in March
That's
of
right.
2020. So it's only been open about 2 or 3 weeks until now. It's open now.
We please go out and see it because it's an amazing museum. I wish I could claim credit for it, but it's really well done. It tells the story of the Manhattan Project of Oak Ridge, and of course the K-25 plant, and the science and the people behind the amazing work done there. So yeah, I loved it, and I hated having to close it down that soon after opening. I know Ray knows the story. Our new curator showed up the day before I closed the museums. I'd hired him away from a museum in West Tennessee, but he has been doing great work during the closure at both museums, getting them ready to open. So yeah, please come see K-25 and AMT. I think the exhibits have always been great, but they're even better than before.
Very good.
One more comment about the K-25 situation. As you know, Keith, we've been working on that for a number of years. Actually tried to save a part of the main K-25 building, and we're not successful because of the deteriorated condition. But now the emphasis is on making that footprint as visible as we can, and also building a I don't like this name, but that's what we've called it, an equipment building. Surely, Alan, we can come up with a better name, but that's what it's been called. And also a viewing tower that will allow people to actually see the footprint of the K-25 building. So I think that's making progress. We are trying to connect Alan with the folks who are making those design decisions so that he can help set that up so it'll be best for people coming through. And again, the K-25 History Center is a top-notch facility, and we want the other additions that we're making to be just as effectively designed and available to the public. So I think, Alan, we're looking at, it's still several months away, but we've got momentum going in the direction to finish that out there, and to get the Manhattan Project National Historical Park even more engaged in the facilities out there. So I'm proud to see the movement that's taking place at K-25 by the Department of Energy.
I would imagine. I would imagine if you had a viewing tower, it'd have to be pretty tall because that building was so big to be able to really kind of to understand the size.
And that's what it's not designed yet exactly how to be done, but that's why it's so important to show the size of the footprint when you're in that viewing tower, and in some way mark the corners. And I'm thinking with them, and I know there are several ways you can do this, but you need to show the size of the building in some fashion. I don't know if that's lighting. I don't know if that's signage. I don't know what it is, but you're right. Some people need to experience the size. Now, the equipment building will have replica parts of the K-25 process in it, so you'll see the actual size of the process equipment. But the size of the building, 44 acres is what it covered. Largest building in the world under one roof at the time in the middle 1940s. So that's a significant part of the history out there. But all those artifacts in the History Center, they make it come alive for the people. So it's a good arrangement.
And part of our opportunity now is how do we combine the experience of AMZ with the K-25 History Center for our visitors? So that's something, we had started working on, and then we had to close. But how do we take the school groups that come our way, all the visitors from around the world, and make sure that both of those experiences are something they undertake while they're here?
Yeah, the distance between the main museum of AMSI and K25. Of course, it gives those of us who like to talk about history, if you're on a bus with them, gives you a good time to tell the stories and and do that. But it takes a 15-minute drive, to 10 to 15 minutes to get people out there.
It's about 15 minutes, and you have to do that because there's usually policemen out there, so you can't make it any shorter on the way. Found that out. But we've made that part of the when the DOE bus tours resume. As you know, the K25 History Center will be part of that, but those have not resumed yet.
Do you have any concrete dates or any projected times when you think the bus tours will begin?
No, not at this point. We've met with DOE, all of our bus tour partners. There's a hope perhaps this fall, but we'll know more. We'll know more in August, is my understanding. We'll kind of have to call it then, all depending upon the Department of Energy COVID regulations at that point.
Sure. Yeah, understand. And now, it's good that the K25 History Center will be included, and I can't miss an opportunity to say that Building 9731 at Y12 is also a potential for added access to the public. They've been working on that for a while, but of course, COVID knocked blocks out from under that too. They can't get any public in, even to the Y12 History Center right now. But we're hoping that at some point in the not too distant future, we can reevaluate the bus tours. Obviously, getting them over to the graphite reactor is a key element of those bus tours. But if we can get 9731 and we can include the K25 History Center, and when the equipment building, whatever we're going to call it, when that gets built, it takes more time there. So there's a possibility in my mind, and maybe it's only in my mind at this time, but I hope not, that we will have multiple tours that will be available at some point, maybe next year sometime. We'll be able to think about how to do specific sites and how to tour them. There's even one other museum in Oak Ridge that I took you out and had Paul Frame to show you, the one that's over at Oak Ridge Associated Universities over at their South Campus.
Yeah.
And they have just redone the website on that one. And you Keith, both of you need to take a look at that and see what they've done with it online. Okay. But my hope is eventually we'll be able to get the public into that one too. But it's a really good museum of radiation instrumentation and the history of all things radioactive that Paul Frame put together out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Alan,
yeah, you took me out there, and you had to, I think, drag me out because there's so many interesting things there to see.
It's amazing. Well, tell us a little about the programs that you created during the pandemic and what you're able to do online. I know that having the museum open is the main thing on your mind right now, but you're doing a lot of other things too that might not be as apparent to our viewers as the fact that the museum's open. So help them to see some of the things that are available online.
Of course, yeah. The pandemic taught us a lot, frankly, about how you engage people online. I challenged my staff. They did an amazing job of rising to that challenge. One thing, for example, I always call it my baby, is AMSI Cast, which is the AMSI podcast. I've interviewed, gosh knows how many people now. We have 11 episodes posted. It's on all the major podcast channels. But everyone from Thomas Zachariah, the director of ORNL, to Heino Falke. I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago. He's the leader of an international science team who took the first image ever of a black hole. Just a couple of days ago, I interviewed Paul Sin, who wrote a great book called Einstein's Fridge, all about thermodynamics. So I think we have some 20 episodes in production right now, and a bunch more scheduled for the rest of the year. So AMSI Cast has been a real success, a way of us reaching out, our education mission across the world, frankly, through the podcast. As you all know very well, it's a great vehicle to reach people. We also started AMSI's online book club. So look for that on Facebook, where we read a book a month and exchange comments on Facebook throughout the month. And now at the end of every month, we were having Zoom sessions to kind of wrap up that book and get ready for the next one. Now we're going to start a hybrid of Zoom and in-person meetings. The first one at AMSI on June 26th. That's a Saturday morning at 9:30. We're going to have coffee and donuts. You can come in and talk about this month's book and next month's book and have a fun time. So that's AMSI's online book club. We also started something that is a lot of fun, though I'm deficient personally in, but a lot of people are taking part in. It's called AMSI's Race to Space. So during the pandemic, I would see all these virtual races around the world where you'd run around your neighborhood and count your miles, and then you would get medals for virtually running, say, Hadrian's Wall or something like that. So I thought we can do this at AMSI. So if you go to amsi.org, you can sign up and you race through the atmosphere up to the space station, which is 224 miles above us. And when you reach certain levels of the atmosphere and report those miles to us, we'll send you a 3D printed medal and you'll get a Race to Space t-shirt. I've only made it 10 miles so far. So my staff was making fun of me. I got my first medal the other day. I was very proud, but other people, one person's already made it to the space station. So look that up on amsi.org, AMSI's Race to Space. That's just a good example of what we've done with those. Now, in education, you know, we have amazing educators, and Matt Mullins, who's our director of marketing, is an amazing videographer and producer as well. And they put together over 100 pieces of educational videos of some type. So including the podcast, but also videos of our educators, virtual classes. We got a couple of great grants from ORNL and Y12 to reach out into classes virtually through Zoom. And some of those we would send kits to classes and they would do experiments there along with us through Zoom. So we reached a lot of students, even though we couldn't get into classrooms and they couldn't come to the museum as they had in the past. Now, we'll keep that going. I mean, hopefully, you know, now schools will start coming back in the museum, but we intend to still maintain these online educational programs. So we're calling, you know, the K through 12 AMSI Explore is going to be a set of resources. We're also starting something called AMSI University, which is kind of high school and above type things. So we're working now on a webinar, for example, all about displacement neutron source and neutron science, working with great partners at ORNL to put together that program. We're also looking for national partners in education. So in July, teamed up with the National History Academy, ORNL and Y12 to do a 2-hour online workshop about the Manhattan Project. So we're doing the history of it. We're doing the science of the atom, science of the bomb, that kind of thing as well. So that allows us to reach a really broad audience as well as students locally. So we've done a ton online. I'm sure I'm leaving out stuff. I would say if you go to amsi.org and K25history.org, K25historycenter.org, you can find 2 new websites. We worked on those while we were closed. So those kind of have all this information and more about all the stuff going on at AMSI and at the K25 History Center.
Oh, excellent. Those are some good, you made good use of the time you had available to you and kept the staff active even during the pandemic. So,
and I would say also just Quinn, who's our curator, worked with our staff as well. So in addition to all those online things, Ray, you know that we also tweak the AMSI exhibit. So we put in, for example, a new virtual reality gallery. We've started putting together, it will soon be there, the first exhibit in what we're calling the Innovators Gallery, where we show some technology in action from a regional company. We put in some new interactives. So my favorite's called Sounds of the Universe, where you can hear, you know, the wind on Mars or thunder on Jupiter or something like that, where we found all these amazing sounds thanks to NASA and put on an interactive. We put up a new video about isotopes. You know, it's an important part of the story with medical isotopes. So all these new elements that Quinn and the crew have been working on to make AMSI even better. We did a lot of work on that during the shutdown.
And I would imagine, and I would imagine, Alan, that you know, you were able to do some things that were very beneficial to the museum simply because you were shut down and you discovered things that you might not have discovered had you been open the whole time, you know?
Yes, that's right. I always, I wish we had been open, but you're right, because we were able to kind of step back and say, okay, is this part of the exhibit working the way we want it to work? Or what topics should we be adding? So a good example is been working with Quinn to think, what more can we do on fusion? We added a case during the shutdown on the nuclear navy. And that, frankly, is something I didn't know that much about before I came back to Oak Ridge, and the important role of this being kind of the birthplace of the nuclear navy. So we've added a case on that. So those types of things, it did give us that opportunity, and kind of the more inside baseball type of thing is we were able to step back as part of this change of how we operate the place and take a deep look at best practices and things like human resources and how we handle our books and all these things, that not that they were done poorly before, but let's take a fresh look at it as we're changing how we're doing things, and we have the time now to really do it in the best possible way.
So tell us some things that you learned since you've come back, and you did already talking about the nuclear navy, but I know that you've got exhibits that are in storage, things that maybe the public haven't seen. Is there something that you could talk about that AMSI has brought out that you could share with the viewers?
Well, I will say I gave away my best ammunition there as the nuclear navy. But when I was here, as you know, I was here before as director of the Howard Baker Center years ago, and I would joke with then director of RNL, Tom Mason, that he needed to give me the comic book version at first of the science they were doing, because they do so many complex things. And I think every day I found something new. When you look at what's happening at Y12 and RNL, that has been hidden and new to me, that I've learned a lot about things like nanotechnology, supercomputing, neutron science, for goodness sake. That's opened up new worlds to me. The other thing I would say is when I speak to people on AMSIcast, there is reverence, I don't know if that's the word, for Oak Ridge around the world. People know about Oak Ridge. People know the story and they want to be part of it. They want to come here. So it doesn't matter where I'm speaking to people. They say, you're in Oak Ridge, we want to come visit. Even, I always get ready to invite them, and they usually invite themselves first, which is terrific. Because they want to come here and experience what we get to experience every day. So that's, I guess I've always known that, but it's really opened my eyes to how important we are in the history of the world, frankly, of what happened right here in Oak Ridge.
I think you're right on target there, and people do want to come to Oak Ridge. We have an enormous history and resource. Actually, at the Optimum, there's 5 available museums that they can visit while they're here. The commemorative walk, Secret City commemorative walk, talks about the 7 years when Oak Ridge was behind the gates on each of the roads coming in. And the International Friendship Bell. All of those are stories that and significant historical items of interest that many other cities would just die for. Yeah. But we have them here, and we can, of course, Katie Watts with Explore Oak Ridge is doing a great job of promoting Oak Ridge and looking. I don't know if she's talked to you recently, but I have talked to her, and she's looking at ways to bring all of these museums together in a promotional campaign, if you will, to make people more aware of what Oak Ridge has to offer. But your experience is no different than mine. When I talk to people about Oak Ridge, you can see the interest almost instantly, and they do want to come. They want to visit Oak Ridge and learn more. We do have an amazing history. Of course, Keith McDaniel made a film about that.
I do.
I've
heard about that. Yeah.
How many of them, Keith?
I've made 6 documentaries on Oak Ridge history.
Yeah.
over the last 20 something years. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's great to be able to tell our story not only on the screen, but you know, it's even better in person. So
Yeah,
I'm pleased
yeah.
that things are starting to open back up, and we can start seeing that influx of visitors and folks, and you know, and students, and the folks that
Right.
are interested in our history, because
Yeah.
it is, you know, it's kind of like, you know, sometimes I say this quite often. Um, a prophet is without honor in his own land,
Yeah.
and you know, it's sometimes we forget as residents of Oak Ridge just how important and like you said, how other people see us and see our history. We sometimes we forget that.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's good to be reminded of that every once in a while.
Yeah.
That we do live in a unique and special place that has a special place in our world's history. So
Yeah. It's easy
And you,
for that to happen because you live your lives, you have to work and you know, go about your daily life. But you know, step back and think about that. Come see us at the museums, and it comes rushing back. And I'd be very deficient if I didn't say my crew would be mad at me. Is that if people want to help us tell that story, well, we are absolutely always need volunteers. So if folks are watching and would consider volunteering at AMSI or K25, we have a great crew. We always are looking to add to it. So we'd appreciate anyone coming out to help support us, because we do tell that story. We do keep that legacy going. So any assistance would be much appreciated.
and it's rewarding to volunteer and get these people coming through and be able to share history. And all of the people, the residents of Oak Ridge, all have their own stories that they can share. And people are interested in knowing what's it like to live in a place like Oak Ridge. And it's not only the history that we can share. Oak Ridge is creating history even as we speak.
Oh, yeah.
There are new things happening every day in Oak Ridge, and we can share that. And then there's the other side of it. You can dispel the rumors that we glow in the dark. We really don't.
That's right.
However, one of the best-selling T-shirts we ever had was the one that had painted on it, "I glow in the dark," and it was in black light colors, so it really did glow in the dark. So
I can get one of those. I will tell you a story. During the shutdown, we put together an online shop, so you can go online and shop at our Discovery shop, which I hope everyone will. But the biggest seller during the shutdown on that online shop was a stuffed plush COVID virus. So a lot of people have gone on that website and have brought, and now we do have some of the plush vaccines you can purchase as well. I'll have to look in and see if we have the glow in the dark shirts anymore. I don't think we do, but we need to look into that.
think about it. They're good sellers.
Right.
And I think all of my grandkids have an AMSI shirt. So we've done our share of buying the product there too.
We have our coffee.
There you go.
Keeps me going every morning.
hey, Alan, one thing I wanted, this has nothing, well, I don't know if it has anything to do with AMSI or not, but I want you to mention it. My understanding is you do a podcast on American presidents.
I do.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? People might be interested in that.
It's been a real passion project. It's called American POTUS, and it's on all the major podcast channels. We're now in our second season. Mm-hmm. Interview historians and other folks all around the world about the American presidency. I think we're at 10,000 downloads now or something like that. We're one of the top rated podcasts in the world. I'm really proud of it. So I work with Scott Brunn, who was formerly with HGTV Travel Channel, as a great production background. And I've just reached out to a lot of friends and new friends around the world, amazing authors, to speak with us about the presidents, either specific presidents or the presidency as an institution. So yeah, look up American POTUS. I'm real proud of it. We're just getting ready to wrap up our second season now and already booking the third season.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. Ray, do you have anything else for us?
No, I think Alan's done a good job of bringing us up to date on what's going on with AMSI and K-25 History Center, and shared some of the activities that are uniquely created because of the pandemic. So
Yeah.
I think Alan, we really appreciate you for coming on and talking to us about that.
Well, thank you all. I appreciate the opportunity. Call me anytime. I appreciate it. And thank you for your support of the museums.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. And Ray, who do we have scheduled next time?
We have a gentleman by the name of Alex Gabbard. He is a retired, actually was, he worked in the Department of Defense in the nuclear weapons program, has a really good presentation about the nuclear weapons from a slightly different perspective. He also wrote the book Thunder Road. So we'll talk about going down Kingston Pike a little bit, but look forward to having Alex with us next time and letting him reminisce a little bit about how he was involved in the Cold War and the maintenance of nuclear weapons from the other side, the potential user side, and how they were able to keep those weapons ready at a moment's notice. And I'm hoping that he'll be able to share with us some insights into that effort that the general public would not be aware of.
Sure.
Well, we'll look forward to talking to Alex next time.
And that will be in about 3 weeks, because in 2 weeks from now is the July 4th weekend, and we're gonna be celebrating that weekend. So that'll be in about 3 weeks.
On July the 10th, I believe.
All right. Well, very good, Ray. Thank you, Alan, and folks. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it.